feel like it's just important to bring the obvious to me back to the equation, and that is face-to-face meetings, relationships, accountability, and trust are so critical.
The trend is going towards automation of, a lot of tasks, maybe taking some of that relationship stuff away. But I do agree with you wholeheartedly that I think it's more important right now in 2025 to personalize, to have that customer experience, even vendor experience that's legendary.
Huge believer that every experience you have is an opportunity. You can either focus on the negative and drown yourself in that, or you can focus on the opportunity of what the growth is possible.
What would happen if you just undid all of those things that were either big failures or mistakes, or you were embarrassed or you weren't ready or whatever? If I took all of those away, I would almost be nowhere. Every runway that I've paved to take off the plane of whatever I'm doing has been paved with those mistakes.
If you take no risks, then you have no direction to seek.
I absolutely agree.
Welcome to the Grit Blueprint Podcast, the playbook for building unmistakable brands that grow, lead, and last in the built world. I'm Stephanie Couch, the founder of Grit Blueprint, and I'm a lifelong building industry insider. I was raised here, built my career here, and now my team and I help others win here. The truth is, you can be the best option in your space and still lose to someone else who simply shows up better and more consistently. Each week on the Grit Blueprint, I'm going to show you how to stand out, earn trust, and turn your brand into a competitive advantage that lasts. If you're ready to be seen, known, chosen, and become unmistakable, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Grit Blueprint Podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Couch, and I'm here today live on the Glass Build National Glass Association floor with my friend Chip Gentry from Quaker Windows. Welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here.
And we are rolling. We are doing some talking today, both of us on the main stage. You just got off stage. I'm going on to talk about AI later today. But I want to talk a little bit more about you and what you're doing in the industry. So you actually are the Chief Legal Officer at Quaker Windows, a company that I've been reading a lot about lately. You guys are having a great run right now. You just got an Inc. 5000 third year in the row, one of the fastest privately owned companies that are growing in the U.S. Congratulations.
Thank you. We're very proud of that.
What else is going on with you and this amazing company? Just tell me a little bit about it.
Well, Quaker is a 76-year-old family-owned business. We like to say we're just getting started. So, it's all about our people. Glass Build is such an important venue for us because we get to get down here and re-engage with our friends. We get to create new friendships, and most of us understand that all things being equal, people want to do business with their friends.
Yeah.
All things not being equal, people still want to do business with their friends. So it gives us that time, and the energy and the buzz on the floor is just second to none.
Yeah, and you were here earlier speaking about supply chain, and there's a lot going on right now in the supply chain, and there's continually problems and issues and things that come on. But you were talking about how to innovate with that. Tell me a little bit just more about this topic that you were speaking on.
Well, from my perspective, it's again about relationships and people. And, I'm a big sci-fi fan. So if you read Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep became Blade Runner, humans become more machine-like and machines become more human-like. I feel like it's just important to bring the obvious to me back to the equation, and that is face-to-face meetings, relationships, accountability, and trust are so critical. And by that, if you have those relationships and you get a contract in, you're able to renegotiate and fine-tune the language that makes sense from a supply chain risk.
Yeah.
Who owns the risk? Is the seller of the product owning the risk all the way to your door, or vice versa? Or is there some harmonized middle ground to where it's really a true partnership? So it gets away from the legalese and the big mumbo-jumbo words and gets more into what's the purpose and why does this partnership matter for both sides rather than a one-sided draconian agreement?
Yeah, because that feels good when you get them to say yes the first time. But if you don't make an agreement that's symbiotically beneficial, that second time it's not near as fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We all do not like to do business that way, for sure. I definitely agree with you that what's happening in our environment with AI and technology and some of those things, it does feel like the trend is going towards automation of, a lot of tasks, maybe taking some of that relationship stuff away, taking the personalization, the individualization out. But I do agree with you wholeheartedly that I think it's more important right now in 2025 to personalize, to have that customer experience, even vendor experience that's legendary. How does Quaker do that?
We're a vulnerable leadership team. And by vulnerable, I don't mean weak. I mean that we aren't afraid to expose our authenticity and who we are. And so it's our lifeblood in sharing our story. How did we get to the window and door industry? Why does the company matter? Why do the products matter? And it all goes to the people, and it all goes to our employees, our open book management, our open door management. We are very transparent with every employee. There's profit sharing involved. Their benefit packages are amazing. The pay is highly competitive. And what's amazing to me is I've been associated with the company for almost 27 years, most of my legal career, and seeing it grow from the outside and now being on the inside, it still blows my mind every day. I'll walk down the hallway and there's an engineer that's been with us for almost 50 years. There's a bookkeeper that was with us for about 60 years. You know, people just don't leave because when we say we're family, it's not just a parable, it's actual authenticity.
Well, you were telling me earlier the name Quaker Window. What brought that to be the name? So tell me the story behind that, because I love a good story.
Yeah, so our founders, Bud and Marge Knoll, when they got into the window business, they were looking for a brand and what to call themselves, and they sort of associated the Quaker culture with quality and family values. And so they thought that word in and of itself sort of exposed and branded themselves as to who they were as people, which then got directly into the product quality.
And today, what does that legacy mean for Quaker still having that mentality of being the best and not compromising?
We are so blessed in that we now have the third and fourth generation of the family in positions throughout the company. We have a family council that meets as a family all the way out to the extended cousins.
Wow.
And they help make sure that our mission is clear and that the mission aligns with their family values and that the corporate side of the business doesn't lose sight of what the family wants to be and what the face of the Quaker brand is. And so just working with the family every day, all the way up through board of directors. Our 4 women owners are all members of the board. And so they are engaged on a quarterly basis from a strategic perspective, a policy perspective, and really what we're all about. And it helps maintain that continuity that started back in 1949.
That's amazing. I love a privately owned family business like this that still have so much heart in it. And I think that's why you guys are winning so much. I mean, I truly do. It's hard when you see these companies that the money and the bottom line is the only thing that drives things. It has to be more than that for it to be long-term successful, in my opinion. There are a lot of publicly traded companies that don't operate that way, but I think in the long term, momentum comes from that.
I've just been so proud of our leadership team and our CEO, Kevin Blancett, and his character as a human and how much he cares about what we're doing and how it affects the communities. And we just very quickly reinvest extra profit and extra margins directly back into the employees, directly back into the business. You know, like we cover 100% of their health care.
That's unheard of today.
Yeah.
Definitely unheard of. And I'm sure your employees really, really believe that that keeps them there, but also that investment in their growth and development. Knowing that the company's growing so much also is super exciting for people because you know there's going to be more opportunity if you choose to take that.
Absolutely.
I love it. Well, I want to talk a little bit more about where you're from. You personally, you actually started in a private practice. You own your own legal firm.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that and kind of just who you are. I'm not going to hold it against you because I'm a Georgia Bulldog fan, that you're a big Missouri Tiger fan.
Yes, ma'am.
And you go to every game,
Yes.
which kudos
35
on
years.
that. That is, have you ever missed a game?
I've missed 2 games because of my son's golf schedule.
Wow. That
Yeah.
in 35 years.
Yes.
That's incredible. The dedication, that dedication tells me a lot about who you are as a human, because that to be that consistent in anything in your life is pretty admirable.
Well, and let's be honest, I saw a lot of bad football in the
I
90s.
wasn't going to bring that up, but you did, so we'll just go ahead and say it. It's sometimes it's been rough, but you guys are in the SEC now.
Yeah.
So y'all have beat Georgia a few times in the SEC.
Absolutely.
Giving me a heart attack a few seasons in a row.
Beat them down between the hedges once. That was awesome.
I remember. Thanks for bringing that up. This is a sore spot.
You started it.
But I want you to tell me about you and how did you get from private practice and where you were to now being a chief legal officer? Because it seems like, how does that even happen? How do you get involved with the window industry?
Yeah, again, it goes back to the people. So I was a baby lawyer. I'd been practicing about 3 years. I started out doing insurance defense work and absolutely hated it. Working for, well, we don't have to go into the details, but it just didn't fit who I was. I was born on a farm in Indianola, Iowa. I lived north of Dallas as a kid, and then basically grew up in junior high and high school north of Kansas City.
Okay.
So true Midwesterner, right? And Midwesterner values. And I decided to become a plaintiff's personal injury lawyer. So as I got into that practice, it just so happened that I met some folks from Quaker Windows, and they had never been sued before. And they got themselves into a situation that kind of spread out across the country. And they asked for my advice. And I literally told them I thought they had a great business plan to fix it. They didn't need a lawyer. Well, it turned out that the other side thought differently. And so in I came, probably way out over my skis, but just jumped into the deep end. Loved the people, loved what they were about. They said what they meant what they said. That's just a dying thing, and a dying value. And so that really drew me to them as humans and people. And then I just instantly became a window geek. And how that happened, I don't know. But
It happens to the best of us.
just walking around here, you get to see these things, and people that don't understand us, it's tough to explain.
Yeah.
And as that case came to an end, I really just was drawn to the industry. So I hired an expert to help me understand the industry, and I became a fenestration lawyer.
Wow.
And defended companies throughout the country for 27, almost my 30 years in practice. And then
an expert that you hired to tell you about the industry, because I think this is a really interesting concept with all the retirements and stuff that are coming. What did they teach you?
Yeah, they gave me that white paper snapshot of what the domestic industry was about, who made it, what it was made of, where the players were at, where they were located, what sort of cases had been out there before. And basically, as a trial lawyer, was there a space for that needed to be filled? And as I started interviewing other potential clients, I learned that their number one frustration is they would get themselves into a pickle. Their insurance carrier would either hire a lawyer or they would hire a lawyer. And it was just a widget defender. They didn't understand the industry. And so I decided if I was going to do it, then I was going to become knowledgeable about the industry, about the products, and really how it works, because it's such a unique industry.
100%. I think that's so smart. I actually feel like that's kind of my competitive advantage as well, because I've been in this industry so long. There's just these little nuances that if you didn't understand, you wouldn't even know. You don't know what you don't know. So
Right.
you don't know which rock, when you turn it over and see something under it, if you don't know what even it means,
Right.
you don't know if you should leave the rock unturned or not, or turn another rock behind it. And so I think that is something that really, to be curious like that, I think curiosity is one of the traits that is what makes most people successful in things that they haven't done, if you can keep digging. But also for you to go, you said you were over your skis. What in your life makes you want to be able to go try things that maybe you might not be 100% qualified for or ready for? And what advice would you give people maybe that are younger that are struggling with that?
Well, without oversharing, I can tell you that my counselor is always amazed in that I don't have anything negative to say about things that happened in the past. Huge believer that every experience you have is an opportunity. You can either focus on the negative and drown yourself in that, or you can focus on the opportunity of what the growth is possible. And so I just, through some really unfortunate circumstances in my childhood, it sort of taught me by watching how the world worked that if you just train your brain to focus on the positive and the opportunities, you don't have to worry about failing, because if you surround yourself around good quality people, failure is part of the game, and we each understand it. And if you can't pick yourself up, you've got this network that help pick you up.
I was giving a speech yesterday in Vegas, and one of my slides said failure is tuition.
Yes.
And I have a damn doctorate degree for sure. But it's hard to think of, like you said, what would happen if you just undid all of those things that were either big failures or complete mistakes, or you were embarrassed or you weren't ready or whatever. If I took all of those away, I would almost be nowhere,
Right.
because every runway that I've paved to take off the plane of whatever I'm doing has been paved with those mistakes.
If you take no risks, then you have no direction to seek.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I definitely like to take risk. And I think that's an inherent thing in my personality. I
Yeah.
feel that from you as well, that you got to push yourself. So you've built these amazing teams. You're leading the Quaker Window team. Do you have lawyers under you at Quaker?
Yeah, our general counsel reports to me, and then I brought a paralegal from my law firm over.
Okay. And so you're doing this with manufacturing. You have all of these different things. How does it work with a team like that to build a resilient team that's across different parts of an industry that's also a company that's rapidly growing?
What we found, and I certainly have personally found successful, again, I go back to that vulnerability theme, being able to share openly who you are, what values make you tick. We just seem to get wrapped up today in labels. Labeling is what basically our government encourages us to do, our culture encourages us to do, our social media encourages us
Yes.
to do. And you take that label and it just categorically says you're either in my circle or you're not in my circle. And it leaves out the reality of we probably have so much in common and so much differences that we can learn from and grow from. So I found that finding people that are willing to be that type of person, to share their weaknesses, to share what they're not good at,
Mhm.
and then to figure out where their strengths are or what we can use to build them up and help them enhance themselves first, then they can bring that to the team. And then we just work together to where I don't want my entire team. In fact, I don't want anyone on my team that thinks and has the same experiences that I have.
Yeah.
I want that diversity and that different perspective, because you change your perspective by 1 degree, it could change everything.
Yes. My dad used to say when I was a little girl, where two people are the exact same, one of you's not needed.
Right.
And it's true. If you
Right.
think about it, if you already have a fork in your hand, you don't need another fork. You need a spoon or a knife,
Right.
and I think about that a lot. It's what what your strengths are. Number one, if you don't know what they are, then
Right.
that's a problem. You got to know what your strengths are and also what you're not good at.
Right.
And then figure out how to delegate that and hopefully have people that are better at it than you on your team and then let them go run.
Absolutely.
And it's hard to do that when things are changing rapidly because you're adding and you're moving and moving parts. I know a lot of your job. I am definitely not a lawyer, but I love lawyers because they keep me from wearing orange, which is not my favorite color.
It's a good show, though.
It is a good show. But at the end of the day, I think about compliance a lot from your perspective. I'm sure that's what most manufacturing type attorneys, lawyers, and companies probably are thinking a lot about that. But you talk about beyond compliance. So first of all, what the heck does that mean for a non-lawyer?
Yeah.
And what tactically are you thinking about in your company that is beyond compliance?
So if I came to work and my job description was just to make sure we are regulatory compliant, that we're crossing our T's and we're dotting our I's from a legal perspective, and I just get wrapped into the big words and the legal mumbo jumbo, what it does is it erodes the idea of thinking macro level, 30,000 feet, sort of seeing we're just in the U.S. and just seeing the country as an opportunity rather than just a risk pool.
Mhm.
And so by being able to tackle, A, identify the risk, B, figure out creative ways to mitigate the risk. I'm a big fan. If you don't have to eradicate the risk, a lot of times that's not even possible. But the bigger risk we can take, but in a calculated fashion, again, it goes to the people. We have to have good quality people making good quality product. The fact that we give all of our employees sort of this ownership mentality helps them come to work and be proud of what they're putting out there in market. And so, for instance, I'm here in Glass Build. I saw you at FGIA's event over in Indianapolis. And so from a macro level, I'm able to see things strategically on where our market share is, where our market share is weak, and what we can do to bolster sort of our presence, the quality of our product, and more importantly, our end users' experience with us. Because as we all know, it's not what we tell them, it's how we make them feel.
Sure.
And if I was just sort of the boring lawyer and the sponge fun, or the fun sponge, it wouldn't be a fulfilling career for me. So
No one's ever said you're a boring lawyer. I'm 100% certain of that. So when we met, you were wearing this epic blue suit that was a custom suit. I was, of course, wearing, I think, a pink hat and maybe leopard print brown that
leopard
day.
print, yeah.
And so you came up and you were like, "Love your outfit." And I was like, "Well, I love your outfit." And you had asked me a question during the Q&A, and we instantly realized, number one, that we're both like fashion people in this window and door industry,
Yes.
which is very rare birds. But you look great, and you look great today. You're wearing amazing new shoes.
Thank
I
you.
mean, look at this suit.
Likewise.
What makes you, thank you, what makes you okay and also to embrace, number one, just being Chip? Like, that was very early, like right when I talked to you, I was like, this guy knows who he is and he's
Yeah.
totally embraced it. And then what was that like when you were a little younger and maybe that wasn't as openly like, just be who you are? You're now, higher on the food chain.
Yeah.
When you were a baby lawyer, were you still like this?
I was.
Okay.
And now back then, I have now learned that it was a people pleasing, component to where I liked being flashy. I
Yeah.
like standing out. I like to act on stage.
Mhm.
I love movies. I love books. And so I love the story component of an experience.
Mhm.
So I always wanted sort of people to notice, so then I have an opportunity to help. And the lawyer that from our small town that sort of motivated me to go to law school, I just saw people gravitate towards him, and I recognized that he was just able to listen to challenges without maybe the emotional challenges that they've got because of of how it was affecting their life, and he just found unique strategies. And so I've always dressed the way I dress. But now I have a much more healthier understanding of who I am as a person,
Mhm.
why I've made decisions in the past, why I made mistakes, sometimes repeated mistakes. And what I've learned is that I still like the flash.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. Um, whether you love or hate him, Elon actually says that salesmanship is showmanship.
Yeah,
And I think there's a lot to that. And if like a robot engineer says that, I mean, he's like the most engineering mind person I
right.
know, but he obviously is brilliant and he thinks that that's important. And Steve Jobs talked a lot about that too, about storytelling. Even Warren Buffett, stories translate. And I think that we talked a little bit about this in my speech that you heard. We all have this very tactical, technical product. Like Windows are to us very interesting,
Yeah,
but to a lot of our end users, it's just a window, or it's even worse, it's an expense that they don't want to have to spend money on.
right.
How do you translate that? And you've talked a lot about that with values and stories. How do you translate the Quaker Windows story to make it intriguing to everyone that you're selling to and also your, internal stakeholders?
Well, sure. Of course, there's all this engineering specific performance, all these numbers that we window nerds get geeked out on. What is our U values? What's our solar heat gain? All this technical side.
Sure.
But to your point, the folks that are putting these products in their homes, even owners that are putting them in their hotels and their commercial products, they just want to know, is it going to look good?
Mhm.
And is it going to perform? And by perform, they actually are probably getting to their subconscious in, am I going to be safe?
Yeah.
Is my materials going to be safe? Is it going to look good when the view I have isn't going to be distorted and things of that nature? And so by really accessing what matters to people, because at the end of the day, I haven't heard a single homeowner that literally is like, well, I'm looking for this U value. That's not how they come to the table.
Maybe if they're an architect.
Architects are different animals.
They're a homeowner architect. And
Yes.
you're like, oh, that's why you asked me 87 questions before we got to the color
Yeah.
choices.
But that's to our point about being flashy in our dress, it's okay to stand out
Yep.
with the look, but you have to have the substance behind it.
I
You
agree.
have to have the knowledge behind it.
That's one thing that, I struggle with still a little bit, just because I am so different. I'm a bubbly blonde in a pink hat and a pink dress. I have been in this industry my entire life. My dad and granddad had a lumberyard, and I started working there when I was 5, and I have a lot of chops. But when people first see me and they don't know that, they do just see this and they think I'm just like influencer Barbie or something
Yeah.
from the industry. And I do struggle with that a little bit because you have to peel back that at least one layer of the onion, or at least talk to someone to be able to see that. So there is a certain amount, especially for me, that I think about that a lot. Like I'm never gonna not be me. It just
Yeah.
is what it is at this point. That's who I am. But how do you get people past that in your mind of like, oh, she's just this or he's just that? Well, what do you think about that? I mean, I'm just curious your perspective. We didn't pre-prep this question, but like
Yeah.
me, it's something I think about a lot because I do speeches and I'll start answering really in-depth questions. This happened to me yesterday. And people are like, "Oh, wow. Okay, you actually are like, you know what you're talking about."
Yeah.
But it takes that 30 minutes to an hour of being around me and talking to me to get that. So I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
Well, you echo a vibe that I hope I do, and I'm inside the bottle, so I can't read my label, right? But being authentic and being curious and asking good questions to people that are into your bubble. And you struck me the first time I saw you is that you're not an exclusive person, you're an inclusive person. So there's that gravitational pull that people are at least curious of, do you have the substance? Do you have the background? Do
Sure.
you have the knowledge? And so I think echoing those types of traits, I've just naturally been good at, which I'm blessed to have. It's not, I don't think about it.
Yeah.
I don't practice it. I do read a lot and journal and, introspectively check in on myself as to who I'm evolving to be and how
Me
I'm
too.
changing
I
today.
journal usually every morning if I'm in my normal schedule.
It's such a critical skill to hone and
I
practice.
love it. And then reading it back, 'cause
Yeah.
you forget a lot of the micro details or uh, 3 years ago, I got fired from a job and then started this business.
Yeah.
And there's things now that I think about daily, that I do all the time. Like it's just no big deal that were epic moments 3 years ago or 2 years
Yeah.
ago or whatever. And I can go back and read that and know like really how I felt in that moment. And
Right.
there's something powerful about that.
Yeah, being able to look in the rearview mirror, the rearview mirror is small for a reason. We need it. It's a necessary tool,
Sure.
but the front windshield is so much more glorious to see what's out there.
Yeah.
And so rewinding the tape and hearing your own voice, and again, going back to how you felt, and then that way, the decision tree you had and what decision you took, analyze whether or not it was the right move or not, who's in your circle to help you accomplish those goals. It's really where happiness is based.
I agree. And you talked a lot about relationships and talk about the future of where Quaker and where you're going. What excites you the most about the future of Quaker Windows and what you're doing with them?
Well, so it was 2024 where Kevin and I were having a discussion, and the discussion sort of started dovetailing in perhaps me coming on board, and just listening to his passion and what they have, and his phrase to anyone that will listen is just getting started. So it's inside the suit
I love it.
because I like that daily reminder of why are we doing what we're doing. We're just getting started. We've been around 76 years, but nobody's seen it as to what we're about to accomplish. And exciting that our board has provided us a mission of innovating 25% of our product offerings every 5 years.
Wow.
That is unheard of. We used to be a Me Too industry.
Mhm.
Everybody just copied off each
Yep.
other. We've got a robust patent strategy, and just some of the innovations that our innovation lab, which is massive. We can do all our own structural testing. We can do thermal testing, impact, and we're testing it beyond the standards. So when we go to market, we can basically say, there's a standard and we meet it. But FYI, here's our internal information that it's even better than that.
If I come to Missouri, can I like shoot a 2x4 through a window or something?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sign
I'm
me
sure I'm
up.
going to have to get you a legal waiver.
Of course you are. That didn't even cross my mind, Chip. Never thought to think about a legal
You
waiver.
shooting a 2x4 sounds like a risky business.
I love it. Well, I'm excited. I mean, just getting started, I feel like that resonates so deeply with me. I'm 3 years into my business and I feel the exact same way. There's something about having a hunger and an excitement. And the fact that you're 76 years in and it feels like you're
Brand new.
it feels like you just started. That's really cool.
Yeah, somebody asked me yesterday, how are you so energetic at sort of arguably the twilight of my career, which I took a little offensive. I'm not that old.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
like,
But
has this person seen you?
but the reality is all the years I've been coming to Glass Build as a speaker, as a contributor, I came from a problem solver where it's already hit the fan.
Mhm.
The project's already gone sideways. And
Yeah.
so I was playing cleanup and trying to find successful strategies to solve a challenge at the end of the game,
Mhm.
bringing my skills and my experience now and being proactive. So going back to one of the things I'm so excited, just seeing the metamorphosis in just the last 10 months, it's just so easy to get up and go to work.
Wow. You fire me up. Like, let's build some windows. Let's do some
Absolutely.
stuff. Let's sell. I like to sell windows.
Yeah.
I'm not a builder. I'm a salesperson or marketer, brander, whatever you want to call it. But I love that. Well, I'm gonna come to Missouri,
Please do.
and hopefully, I will keep you out of the Georgia Bulldog hedges, at least victoriously, anyway.
Yeah,
But I am excited to continue to see you at events.
absolutely,
And
Stephanie.
congratulations on all your success, on the Quaker success. And
Likewise.
thank you for joining me on the Grit Blueprint podcast.
Anytime.
Thank you for listening to the Grit Blueprint podcast. If this episode helped you think a little differently about how to show up, share it with someone in your building world who needs it. If you're ready to turn visibility into growth, then head to gritblueprint.com to learn more and book a call to talk to us about your growth strategy. Until next time, stay unmistakable.